Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Healing Podcast. This is Vaughn and I am joined by two beautiful, very wise women today. I have got Barbara Alexander here with us and she is astrologer extraordinaire. And I have got CiCi. She was just with us last week.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago.
She was recently with us. We were talking all about Kundalini energy, and she also is a beautiful human design coach and teacher and reader and just all that good stuff.
To do with that.
Yeah. So we have got these two powerhouse women. And we're actually in person, in studio, because Barbara lives in New Jersey. CiCi, of course, is local. But Barbara's here in studio. So I was like, let's just have a fun little roundtable discussion and jam out on all the things. So here we are, jamming out on all the things. Astrology, what is happening in this world right now. How we can incorporate a deeper understanding of our own astrology and the collective energy, the universal energy of the shifts and changes that are happening in the cosmos, in the stars. Astrologically, it's so important now more than ever that we understand what is happening. And then when we can pull in the human designs of our own personal aspects of our unique divine soul blueprint, and pull all of that together, the astrology aspects, the human design aspects, along with the healing aspects, we really are able to embody more of our divine self at this time. And I mean, we are in it. We are in it. And currently, we have just recently had a devastating hurricane to touch down. And before we press record, Barbara, you were talking about the astrological, how this was in the charts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, without getting into specifics, because I don't look at that, but I follow a lot of astrologers that look at world events and natural disasters, and there were a couple of things that were going on around the time of the hurricane. One was that there were some planetary concoctions together, right?
Yeah.
Connections. Some of them were asteroids, which again add more dimension to the energy that predicted some sort of water catastrophe. So that was one without a location, and then I follow an astrocartographer who looks very closely at the planetary lines for individuals, but also for countries and for the US. And she pointed out in a video that there was a line going right, a connection between two pretty important outer planets, Neptune and Uranus. They were moving, in the map of the US, right up, and then crossing over the point was Asheville.
Neptune is all water.
Water. Neptune is water. Neptune in Pisces is water. Uranus in Taurus is also more about the earth.
And it was in
unexpected
events. It was in this timeline, right? Like it
Yes.
like it wasn't like maybe ran. Like it was like aligned in this timeline. So I just think that is so profound. Like it is such almost like proof, right, of the importance of understanding. We're talking about universal, like collective energy here, but for us to take this, hone this in even deeper into our own chart, into our own understanding, and how this can deeply support us is just. I mean, I know Barbara, you've been on my podcast, I think twice before, and we talked about the importance of understanding this, but this is just more validation that is bringing it home for us globally and personally. So now more than ever, it is imperative that we understand what we are working with and allowing ourselves to surrender into that.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think sometimes we take it for granted, right? That we're floating in space in this dimension of our planets, right? The way that our planets are constructed, the way that they shift and move at different vibrations, and that the sun moves through the solar system. And we take it for granted that that has meaning and significance into how we experience life, into how we are like sort of own in and just a profound impact and imprint, right? I think we used the word imprint as we were talking about this before. Such an imprint that has on each individual person. And I usually preface it, right, when people ask me about human design, and it sort of is a little bit of a complicated science, and I mention the cycles that we live in, right? The cycles of the trees budding in spring every year. Yeah, there's weather there, right? But what energy is telling that tree it's time to bud?
Yeah.
What energy is it telling it in October and November that it's time for those leaves to drop, right? What energy is telling those orchids it's time to bloom, those roses? That's all significant to how we are all collectively, right? Human, animal, plants, trees, planets, sun, moving through the Milky Way system. Yeah. You have to take a moment to ponder that.
Right. Like, you're exactly right, because we do take that for granted. I mean, like, why do we have seasons? Like, why is the energy shifting and changing? It's like we naturally know. You know, same thing with the moon. Same thing with our own cycles within. You know, our true cycles, right?
Our womenly cycles.
Yeah, until you don't have one. But whatever. We're still very cyclical.
We're still very cyclical.
But I mean, it's so amazing, and for so long we were not taught to tune into these high energies, these high frequencies. We just were not taught, and so now we are literally being schooled all over again.
What were we talking about last night? We were talking about when a baby is born, the parents should be given the child's human design and astrology chart. And as they raise their child, they have an understanding of the makeup of their child, because we are all different. We, at the moment that we're born, we have an energetic blueprint made up of the energy, that's where the energy is at the time of birth, that provides so much insight into our own uniqueness. But a lot of us don't start questioning it until we're at a point like, what am I here to do?
Yeah.
And that starts the process. That was mine too.
I think that's all of us.
Absolutely.
All of our processes, when we start to wonder, like, what is it that we're here for? But I wanted to sort of mention this, because as you were saying this, it made me think about that, right? Barbara has twins.
Yeah.
Right? Are they exactly the same?
No. No, they're 2 minutes apart. Their charts are exactly identical, but their experiences have shaped them differently.
There's, I bet you, slight variations. They might be in their human design. I haven't done it, but I bet you that there is. But we'll have to practice on that. But it also, like as you were saying that, it just made me think of, like, you have two children. I have two children. They're so different, but they were born from the same two genetic parents, right? They have the same quote unquote DNA, right? But they are all different, right? One was born in the beginning of winter. The other one was born in the middle of summer. Like, just that energetic blueprint alone, like, they're each individual and different. So yeah, how beautiful it would be to give you sort of an idea of what energies belong in them, so that as a parent, whether take that part, right? For the skeptics that are listening, take that part aside, but just that extra attention to them, letting them be their most individual selves.
Exactly. I mean, I'm thinking of my two girls, and they're complete opposites of each other. But had I had more information about them when they were younger, because now they're 16 and 18, but even still, I'm like, I want to have their their whole birth chart done, just for my own knowledge, because I think they might be curious or interested, but they're not ready to fully comprehend everything that it could teach them. But it can still teach me how to help parent them and how to love them and how to support them.
And the cycles that they'll be going through, because that's what happens. Because I think even to take it back to the basic level, if we haven't said this, we are all energetic beings.
Right.
And so we are affected by this energy around us. And once we understand how that energy affects us, we're able to navigate it much more clearly. So you having your children's birth charts and knowing where the planets are at this any given moment could provide insight into what they're potentially experiencing, if they're having a challenging time or a joyful time.
Yeah, and it's like I don't even have to tell them. I can just secretly support them in the way that I know how to support them, because I know things that they don't know.
Or at least that they haven't asked that question that Barbara said just
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so speaking deeper into the energies, right? Like the cycle of energies. Let's talk about the cycle of energies that we are currently working with, because obviously you're listening to this podcast. I speak all the time about the change that is coming, how important it is that we do this inner work, that we connect to our divine essence, that we allow ourselves to embody that divine essence. And at the same time, there is a huge energetic surge that is moving through the collective, encouraging us to do this work. So what, Barbara, is this energy that is surging through us?
Okay. So the one that a lot of people who follow astrology know about is Pluto. So Pluto is moving into the sign of Aquarius for the next 20 years. Pluto made an appearance earlier this year, has been going retrograde through Capricorn, which it's been in for the last 15 years. Now it's moving into Aquarius come, I think it's mid-November, into Aquarius for the next 20 years. So that's one, and I think we're going to talk about that a little bit deeper. The second one is Neptune, which has been in the sign of Pisces for the last 11 years, is moving into the sign of Aries in March of next year. Okay, so that's two big outer planets that are generational, big energy shifts. The other one is Uranus, which has been in Taurus for the last 7 years, is moving into Gemini. Okay, so now we're looking at, if you start to break apart the elements, and so it's going to be moving into Gemini for the next 7 or 8 years. So 3 planets that have been in a long time in a particular sign, and it means something to each of us individually, which we may touch on later, but as a collective, it's more impactful. We have air signs. We're going from Capricorn, which is an earth, to Aquarius, which is an air. That's Pluto. We have Neptune, which is going from water.
Okay, but so going back to what you just said, what does that mean?
So earth is it's grounded, it's stability, it's structure. Now it's going into air, which is innovative, intelligent, innovate. I'm trying to think of a couple of other words.
It's a bit of a rebellious.
Rebel. That's and then you have Uranus that's also moving from an Earth sign of Taurus. Although Uranus is an energy in itself that brings about sudden change and disruption, is now moving into an air sign of Gemini. But that's also known for innovation and technology, which is also Aquarius. So you see AI, AI has become, so we can talk about AI evolving, we can talk about other major inventions or advancements in technology. So that alone, when you think about 3 planets that move very, very slowly through these signs for all this time, they're all moving at once. Yeah. Well, relatively at once.
Just in enough time.
Within a year, all 3 of these are going to, and then we talk about Jupiter moving and Saturn, which also.
So are they all moving from Earth signs to air signs?
So we have 2 moving from Earth to air, and then 1 moving from water to fire.
Oh, what's that one?
That's the Aries. That's the Neptune in
okay,
Aries.
okay.
So
what does that mean?
You know, the darker side of Aries is aggression and combativeness ruled by Mars. So without, you know, there could be some disruption next year.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about Neptune because Neptune in Pisces is dreamy illusions.
Yes.
It's in its home, right? Is Neptune at home?
From a modern astrology, Neptune rules Pisces. Traditional, it's Jupiter.
Yeah, so it's this dreamy illusion energy, and I see that watery Neptune energy going into fire.
Yes.
So illusions, fire, steamy.
So all of this change is happening basically within the next year.
Within the year. It's already starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can all feel that so much with the election, the total destruction, the falling of systems, the corruption, the P. Diddy, the all the lies, all the deception.
That's Pluto retrograde Capricorn unearthing all of that.
Yeah.
And it's been in and out of Aquarius and Capricorn. It's making its final exit out of Capricorn, so we're not done yet, right? We're gonna probably hear some more things, and then we better be ready to be on board with this new age of Aquarius.
And so with that, with all of these systems that are crumbling, right? Like that's happening on a collective, on a global scale, and it is happening on an individual scale.
Yes.
And so it's just so important that we do not take it personally
Right.
when shit is hitting the fan and everything is falling apart and everything you've ever known is crumbling. Everything that we've ever known is crumbling. And what I keep saying, what we all, I feel like, keep sharing over and over and over again, is that it is all for the greatest of our good. That does not mean it hurts any less. Like, it is still so painful to go through it, but when we are doing the work and we can be at peace within ourselves and ride this wave or the wind with the air season coming in, right? If we can just kind of flow with the wind and be with it and be observant without the, but also not placid. We're not supposed to be take it with a beating. Like, we're supposed to be self-aware. We are supposed to be I mean, that is one thing that in conversations that I'm having with women over and over again, is the self-awareness. And it is within that self-awareness that we can be aware and make changes based on that new awareness. And that's where everything that we've ever been aware of before, because it's never been conscious before. It's always been in our subconscious or in our unconscious. And so now that we are digging deeper into ourselves, more of that unconscious and subconscious. So, and I think that that's actually a good conversation to have. I'm kind of going rogue here, but to understand our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and our unconscious. We got conscious, subconscious, unconscious. I never could fully understand. I would always get them all confused. And the more unconscious work I am allowing myself to be in, the more I'm like, oh, that's where it is. That's really where the change is. Because your conscious mind is what we're aware of, right? And our subconscious mind is where we are, it's like a little bit hidden, if we're still aware of it, like we're working in a subconscious way. Like, that's like almost like we're, like, I get up every morning, I make my coffee, I take my dogs out, I make my coffee, like all that's just my subconscious behavior, right? Like, I'm just like doing it and I'm just moving forward in that way. And then, bless you. And then my unconscious, right? Like, that's really where I personally have been delving into this year and deeper into my unconscious mind of my spirituality, right? Like, going in and just being like, that's why I've been like so obsessed with God and Christ consciousness and priestess energy and goddess energy. Like, I'm like, oh, like, I'm going deeper into that wisdom that existed within my body and was there all along, but I wasn't aware of it. So now I am bringing the unconscious to my conscious, and the more self-aware I am of that aspect of myself, I get to observe it, be with it, embrace it, learn about it, like everything.
Well, let me just tell you, because I know your astrology,
right?
Like, this is exactly what Jupiter is doing in your 12th house, right?
Ooh.
So that's exactly what she's been going through since May, since May.
Oh my God.
Okay,
right?
and so, but here's the difference: like, you're awake, and you're open to receiving what is being presented to you,
right?
Because you're on that evolutionary path, and you're aware of how much the energetics are going to guide you through this journey of life.
Right.
So the astrology is working just exactly where it needs to work for you. And next year, Jupiter is going to be in your first house.
What does that mean?
No, wait. Yes. Cancer. And it's going to be like a whole new you. It's like Jupiter is going to bring you a lot of abundance and a lot of prosperity and a lot of goodness. Like, Jupiter expands, although when Jupiter goes through your first house, you could gain weight too.
Okay.
It's abundant.
So I'm just saying, like, it's a real. So you're meant right now to clear out.
Yeah.
For this whole new, beginning of who you are and how people see you in the world. This is the work that you're doing now.
Right. And to that point, like, before anybody else can see me, I have to be able to see that within myself, so that I can learn that about myself, so that I can present that part of myself, right? And so that's really what this conversation is about, is going deeper within, understanding yourself, understanding where you're at in your chart, in your human design, so that you can embrace that. Because honestly, if I didn't know that about my 12th house, I mean, girl could feel like, same thing with Chiron. I've been talking about, like, if I didn't know I was in my Chiron returns, I would be really pissed, like, at life right now.
Well, let's just talk about CiCi. When CiCi and I met after your podcast the first time we had, and I said, oh, so this is what you've been going through. So Uranus was going through her 12th house.
Uranus and Jupiter.
Which, really shaking some things up. And I had specific dates. I said, like, what was going on? Oh my gosh, Barbara, when this and that. Yeah. So I find that it lends some, like, validity, to I'm not going crazy, especially 12th house stuff, because you can really feel that I'm
like, your
this eclipse in Libra was through my 12th house. But I had a much easier time with it, because I did a lot of the excavation during the new moon solar eclipse last October that went through. I mean, I purged a lot. Yeah. So when you're aware of it, and when you're aware of where it's actually helping you, you embrace it more, and you can clear out. So you're I can't wait to see you next year.
I know, me too. Stay tuned.
I mean, it's kind of cool to sort of, even as I was listening to both of you speak, right? We talked about earth energy, and I was thinking about the earth in Capricorn, the structure, the physical. Now moving into that air, which air is a lot of mind, fast action, moving through, right? And I was relating it to what you just said about my 12th house, right? So my 12th house is in Taurus, which is another physical earth sign, right? So I had so many physical breakthroughs. It's when I really uncovered, for me, one of my biggest subconscious works was, I was always very conceptual in mind. I have an air grand trine in my chart, which, for those who don't understand that, all of the air signs within my chart are activated. So I'm very much mental, conceptual, right? And having this energy sort of come into my physical space was that awakening within me that my body itself holds so much of the wisdom. And during those transits, with Uranus especially, and some of Jupiter, I took on Kundalini work, the somatic work, right? The human design work. And as I was drawn to these three things during this subconscious time of my life, I learned the significance of how much wisdom our body holds, right? In human design, I am what is called a generator. And for those of us who may not know what there is, there's 5 auric types in human design. And in a generator, energy is kind of cute because we 3 have different ones.
I was thinking about that.
We have some different ones, and then there's 2 that, you know, that are even more, you know, just different in the way that they progress. But when I am living in alignment with my body literally moves towards the things that I want. I'm a sacral authority, so it's like I have this inner wisdom within me. Like my body will get excited when I'm moving towards something that is aligned with me, right? But old me would use the conceptual side to be like, but I've been taught that I shouldn't do this and this and this. And so then I would maybe have turned away from some of those things. And then things don't happen right for me, right? Things aren't occurring right for me. So for me, taking all of this subconscious, unconscious, when we talk about the 12th house, and Barbara can explain that probably in a little bit more detail, it is a lot of this unconscious, subconscious trauma that maybe we're holding on that we don't even have recognition of. And I learned how to process it through my body, right? Understanding my human
because you
design.
can't just process it in your mind anymore, and that is, I mean, like
breathwork.
That's the power of my work and why I'm so passionate about it, because it's like we can know all these things up here, but until we create the space in our bodies and let that wisdom just like seep down, and so that we can be embodied in it, so that it can literally fill us up, that wisdom, and we can be that.
Exactly.
You know, because it's just not enough to know it anymore.
No.
We gotta be it.
Well, and I think that goes to the point of how you tapped into understanding the uniqueness of your own blueprint, your soul, right? So
Why am I here?
So
Right.
so I mean, we met a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, when you had that. You knew a little bit about astrology, but then you got hooked like me. and then so as these things are happening, you're more aware, and you're leaning more into more of what you're actually here to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it is. We've been talking so much about that because now I have to
change and to make things happen. And so it ultimately reveals the question of, who am I? What do I want? What do I need to let go of? What is there that I know in my heart is not serving me to my highest?
And sometimes people can't answer those questions.
Right,
they can't answer that, and these tools help them answer those questions.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and that's what I find. Like, there's either someone has felt the nudge, but the resistance to make the move, right? Whether it's leaving the relationship or leaving the job or whatever that may be. But you can see, using somebody's human design and using their astrology, this is your soul purpose. This is your path. This is where you are currently in your life cycle. So for some of us, we're in this, we were going through some stuff with CiCi this morning, new beginnings. I gave her the date. She goes, oh my gosh, that's when I moved back into the house, right? So we were looking at her life cycles. And so she's like on this new beginning for the next several years, where somebody else might be in this winding down and closing out a chapter, but they're resisting that because they're really being asked to go more inward and to understand themselves and to be ready to start a new beginning. And that's when it's really understanding the cycle that you're in, where your energetic blueprint kind of fits into it, and how all of these energies are moving around, how they impact you, is like, okay, now I'm gonna go with the flow. Now I'm gonna do away with the resistance, because it's almost a sigh of relief for some people.
It is, absolutely.
It was like moving up a mountain. I feel like I was moving up a mountain, swimming upstream, and it's like, no, you're not designed right now to be doing. Right now, you're required to be being.
I love that. Yep.
And we're so conditioned, and this is what I come across a lot, especially with women that came from corporate and they're now in their entrepreneur. It's about, well, wait a second, I have to hit my goals, and I'm on my own now, and I have to make money, and it's like, when you know the difference between the time to do. I'm not saying that in a cycle where you're required to be more introspective doesn't mean you do nothing.
Right.
Yes.
It means that there are certain things that you need to do to keep things moving.
Is the energy that is being asked of you in that moment.
Exactly. So
the cycles of energy, which brings us back to the beginning of the conversation.
and this goes back to the age of Aquarius. If
Right.
we want to like tie it back to the big picture, which is we're now our physical being is being asked to shift. And we are through these energies starting to be deprogrammed around the ways that we used to normally operate of what success looked like, right? Getting the job and getting married and having the kids and whatever it is. And that's not to say that's not somebody's path. That's somebody's path. But what makes my path for success is different from your path for success, is different from CiCi's path for success, and what success means to us, and that embracing that versus what we were told success looks like and how to achieve success is where we're going.
Exactly. Because we have been programmed. We go to school, we graduate from school, then we go to college. We go to graduate from college, and then we go out and we get our 9-to-5 job, or we do whatever that we are doing, and we just live our life. But that is absolutely deconstructing.
Yes.
And through the deconstruction is a reconstruction, and in that reconstruction is, I feel like we're in that middle ground right now. Things are crumbling all around us. We don't know what is happening, there's just, and we don't know who to believe, especially in the political and the entertainment and the food. Oh my gosh, like the food industry, and just how manipulated that we have been over these years. And of course, my passion is the divine feminine energy, is really connecting to that essence of ourselves that is easier. We have just been operating from such a toxic masculine energy, all of us, because that is the very thing that has been programmed into us. And so as we are allowing more of that feminine energy to move through us, not only are we allowing that energy to move through us, but at the same time we are healing that wounded, toxic, masculine energy. And that's where the balance is. And here we are in Libra season right now, we are in the thick of witnessing that balance and what that can look like for ourselves, and really reevaluating not only ourselves, but our relationships, with our partners, with our children, with our community, with our jobs, like all relationships on all levels.
Right. And so the other thing that I was thinking about when we were meeting earlier was, especially as an entrepreneur, right? It's so we look at, okay, I'm not where I thought I would be at this time, right? And you're working hard. No one's going to deny that you're working hard, right? And you're trying to build a business, and you're looking at somebody else maybe in the same field that's like doing so much better than you, and why am I not where I should be at this moment in time, and why am I not as successful as that person? CiCi, I want you to talk about the design, because this is where we just
it's our own energetic blueprint determines how we put ourselves out there and how we're received. Coming from corporate America and sort of the last 3 years being particularly in sales, There's a lot of deconstructing about it. Sales is in the corporate world is you need to make a quota, you need to do this, you need to get that done. And then some people are like master salesmen, right? And some people, they're really good at their craft, but they can't sell. And it's truly how you use your blueprint, right? Barbara is a manifestor, right? And so if she, as a manifestor, follows the instruction of informing people and using her voice to inform, you're naturally going to get attracted to
I got
her.
us a meal last night.
That's right. She got us a meal last night just because she opened up her mouth and literally manifested it. She was like, we're going to eat, because we've been looking for restaurants and everything up in northern Georgia is closed by 9:30, as we learned.
I said, no, you're going to open that kitchen for us.
And she's, she's from New York, where the city never sleeps, New Jersey. But it just, so her way of coming in is going to be strong, and she's going to attract that attention, because only 9% of the population is manifestors, right? Mm-hmm. And when a manifestor is not in alignment, they keep things to themselves and they feel anger, mm-hmm. right? Their anger is their blueprint. Yeah. Whereas when they inform and they create that action, right? They're at peace. And when you're around the energy of a manifestor, and you're either going to be repelled by them, which sometimes causes a wound when they're children, that they have to act a certain way for other people to accept them. Mm-hmm. But that's because you are not meant to really work with that manifestor. There's only 9% of them. Your life direction is to maybe come across another type of manifestor, or another person who really carries the message for your own energetic blueprint, right? But when you're around a manifestor and you are attracted to their energy, the things that they say carry significant importance to you. And it could be a nudge, because they can be either sitting with a friend and just something abruptly comes up, you're meant to listen to that. Or they could be in a crowd and just say something out of nowhere, and maybe somebody behind them was supposed to hear that, right? And I'll give an example too, going back to May, when, I was really feeling into this energy of the changes in my relationship, and we're sitting on the beach. Out of nowhere, she comes. I'm going to tell you this, and I hope it doesn't offend you. And I looked at her and I was like, shoot. I was like, I knew it was a manifestor. I was like, look. And she goes, don't get back into a relationship with anybody unless you can submit to a man. And I'm like, are they not smart? Man, submit to a man? Like, they're not smart enough. And she's like, well, if they're not smart enough, then don't submit. Don't get into a relationship. And then she left it at that. And that stayed with me. I was like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way. And it suddenly made sense to me. Well, of course, I want somebody like smart. I want a strong masculine energy that makes me feel protected and makes me feel safe, that I am in that energy. Haven't been there. Okay, point taken, right? And it was that beginning of that shift, so to speak, of that change. But that's just the beauty of knowing your auric type. And I think about how many manifestors out there don't even know that they're manifestors and have been programmed to maybe live a different life than they are supposed to, right? Yeah. Just like generators that have been told, you can make things happen. No, we attract things. Yeah. We attract those things, right? And so as you really look into that, when you start to just accept, when you start to be instead of do,
I have permission,
right? Instead of be, and you just, you're just being who you're naturally meant to be, then that becomes transformational to a higher degree, right? So as a generator, I have learned, in about 70%, some of us are mani-gen, so that you have a little bit of manifestor in you, but you still follow the energetic blueprint of a generator. And a generator, if our bodies are in alignment with what we're doing, we attract the things to us. If, from one point, right, I come across as this bubbly, happy person, someone is attracted to me. But when I sell is when I step out of my comfort zone and talk with that Mercury and Scorpio energy that comes in to transform. And because of the polarity within me of me sometimes coming in as this, and I'm very humble and soft. I think for the most part that is my energy. But when I hit someone with this transformational way of speaking, or when I really get to the core, the depth of something, all of a sudden it stands up and I'm doing something good for that person by doing that, and then it gets rewarded back to me in a sale.
And
That's how important that is.
And to overlay my Mercury somewhere else, which is your planet of communications, mine is in the sign of Leo, which is leadership, and it's in my 10th house, which is career and public. So I have innately in my astrology, I have this manifesting impact and informing and using my voice in a public way, right? So I'm meant to share more publicly with in my line of work.
And so for so many years when you probably resisted that, and there was a deep burning desire in you to learn and to share your knowledge and your voice, and the dis-ease that created inside.
Well, the disease was, what is it that I'm supposed to share? I didn't know until I started to ask the questions when I was leaving when I left corporate, and I was trying to understand my purpose. And that's where, like, we're giving examples, like we're kind of like we're down here.
Because so many of us are asking those questions. You know that you have a divine purpose and gifts within you, and like I was saying earlier, like we are meant to serve. Like we were created to serve. Well, what are we serving? We're serving our gifts. Well, if we're not connected to our gifts, then we don't know who we are, and that makes you feel uncomfortable and uneasy, and then that's when we've been like basically brainwashed. Well, this is who you are, and it's like that soul essence that is like, no, that's not who I am. I'm something else other than what you've been telling me, what I've been fed my entire life. But who and what is that version of me? I don't know.
So here's just my example. I was in corporate for 25 years. I was in sales and marketing. I had a very successful career. But my Uranus is next to is in where my MC is, which is like, I'm meant to change careers. Like I'm meant to have different careers.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that because I didn't know astrology back then, and I went into coaching. But it took me 6 years to really hone in on what it was that I was meant to do, and it really started with my very first astrology reading, and then just starting to dive deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then being exposed more to human design. So it's most people start like I did. Like you get a reading, right? You get a human design reading, you get an astrology reading, and you get this information, and you're like, oh wow, my Mercury's in Leo, and I should just talk. But you really don't understand how everything sort of works together with both blueprints, and then take it up to the level of where am I in my life cycle? You know, am I in this beginning stage like CiCi is? And we talked about this at breakfast this morning, right? And her path, and we kind of said there's a little bit of a parallel going on, and then I looked at dates for her. I actually showed her dates that were going to be her shifting into more of a get ready to do what it is that you're really here to do, right? Well, you're doing it now, but you're also working in corporate. So it's sort of like it's the 50,000 foot level, and then you start to drill down into the layers where most people really start down here, and then try and get themselves back up.
And then bringing my work into this.
Yes.
Of the deep healing aspect of it, to be able to receive and be open to receive this knowledge and wisdom that is all there for you.
Yes.
Right? Like you've got to be able to be open to receive. And that is the receivership is the divine feminine energy.
I want to bring something up with that, right? Because it's still on the same vein here of that Mercury, right? The way that I speak. As a child, I was sort of taught, right? Children are seen and not heard, and we know we say we've talked about this before, and so for much of my life, I spent it hiding my voice. Right? Never realizing why there was an impact or how to speak or to even allow myself to share this side of myself that I'm sharing with everyone now, right? Because of that is my voice, that imprint of my birth chart of being that Mercury in Scorpio is meant to really be deep and transformative. But I had so much emotions, challenges, difficult experiences within my life that had this closed off. right? And when we don't follow that, we start getting diseases. I had a really strong bout with hypothyroidism, nodules, and doing all of that. Breath work, the transformative, holy breath work.
Yeah.
When I think about how much emotional release I have done since this journey, which is what, a year and a half, maybe did we make a year and a half yet? Transformative work that has allowed me to see, embrace this side of myself. I've also decreased my medication, right? Like there's so much there, but our bodies are consistently trying to communicate this with us, and this is why taking in this information can be a lot. Embodying it is the key to it.
Last night we had a Kundalini yoga class here last night, and you don't even know it because you were in your zone, but you were singing at the end, and I just like opened my eyes and I was just watching you sing, and I was like, listen to that voice, and just like knowing that I played any part of
what a beautiful voice.
Unlocking that voice, that I mean, because we've had several huge moments of like literally like literal unlocking your voice. And so like last night I was just like looking at you and I was like, that voice and you, and like I just can't believe that I mean, because literally like I saw your voice get unlocked. I saw you heal the energetics that were in your back heart and that were in your throat chakra, and the literal things that were shifting within you, and the energetics behind it, like the suppression and then the unlocking, the freedom. It's just so beautiful. And so now your voice is free. Your voice is able. I mean, so I just, last night was just such a moment for me to like witness you and to be like, oh my God, like how gorgeous and divine is our relationship, number one, you know, that we are even connected, and that again, like that I got to be a part of that healing journey, and the divine orchestration that brought us together, and the yeses that it took for you to keep showing up. You came to classes, you came to retreats, not knowing why or how, and myself too, like none of us knew what was happening, but when it was happening, we're like, this is why you're here, you know, like it's beyond us. But when we can surrender into that soul guidance, and that's why every time anyone shows up for anything that I host, I am just like, I fucking love you so much, because you are saying yes to the unknown. You don't even know. I don't even know why I'm hosting certain retreats and why and where, but I'm just like, okay, but I'm doing it, you know. And then when the people say yes to that, to me, not even knowing, you know, but just being like, there's this, you should come. You want to come? Are you vibrationally, energetically attracted to me and whatever I'm offering? Because if you are, if there's any inkling that is saying, yes, I feel called to that, and you actually take action on that, that's when the change happens. Yes. Like that is the healing that actually has to happen for our voices and our divine blueprint to become even more revealed.
Exactly. I love that. And you know, I see it in the astrology. I see it when, okay, someone's gonna need some healing. Remember, we did the Chiron, we did a lot of the Chiron work at the beginning of the year. Something for the first time happened to me a couple of months ago, which was a healer recommended her client speak to an astrologer. So I got a referral, and now I'm working with her through like several sessions, so that we're actually exchanging information, and that's when it's really powerful.
When we're healing,
when you're truly integrated, when you're truly integrated.
Yeah. We each take our own gifts.
Yeah, because we all have our own medicine. We are all meant to serve. It's not, it is definitely, you know, we're moving from competition into collaboration, competition
exactly
into
where I was
collaboration.
going. We talked about this.
I very rarely meet anyone that I feel that competitive, I've got my trigger, I got my triggers, but again, I welcome the triggers, so it's not even a competition. It's like, what are you trying to teach me, damn it?
We all do.
Right?
We all do. And, I want to go back. I think there may be another podcast episode about my voice, so we'll leave that there because there's such a big, powerful story that unlocked with all of that. But Barbara and I this morning were talking about, right, going back a little bit, maybe tying this all up back into that Pluto. We've lived in a world of hierarchy. We've been trained and bred that hierarchy, right, the steps of the ladder that we all have to climb. And what you mentioned before is all of this work is important together. We didn't come into this world to have this one size fit all, right? Solving to each and every one of our problems. It's when we use and I use the word synarchy just because it has a special meaning to me, both in human design, but it's that collaboration that there's no, and you explain this better, there's no more hierarchy, it's more of we're all collaborating for each other's greater good.
We are. And so, I know that's a big part of my chart. There's a point in my chart that a lot of people don't know. It's called a part of fortune. It's where you experience your natural abundance, fulfillment, joy. So I help clients understand where their part of fortune is and how to harness that. Mine is in my 7th house of relationships and partnerships. I find the greatest joy and I experience success, however you want to quantify success, and abundance and fulfillment collaborating with people. And I truly believe, because a lot of us are working with the same people. Like, look at we work with a lot of the same people, but there's something about what I uniquely bring, what you uniquely bring, and we can name another half a dozen people that we all have something to offer. We all have something to offer and collaborate, and that's where we're going with the Age of Aquarius. Just to go back to the beginning of the conversation, it really is about the connectivity and the collaboration and how we're gonna make an impact. I say on humanity. Now, it could be in your community, it could be in your family, it could be in your business, it could be in a corporation. But it's no longer, the CEO is not going to survive on his own. He doesn't, or she doesn't, right? And we also talked about this before. The job descriptions are going to be more about the energetic profiles. It's not so much your skills and your credentials and all that. It's going to shift to how you're energetically aligned to carry out.
Yes. I feel like this is so important because I know so many listeners feel frustrated with their current state of being with maybe their job, or if you're an entrepreneur, like wherever you are. I know there's so much frustration that is happening, and I know that there is a shift that is coming, and that's where we do understanding our astrology and the time frame, like hitting the gas, or are we in learning mode, like really understanding our human design so that you can fully embrace more knowledge of yourself and how you literally are designed as a human being, right? So,
and where you need to heal.
Right?
Oh, our wounds are where we create art.
It really is just such a pivotal time that we are in, and wrapping up this conversation, I think the moral of the story is that we all have challenges that we are working through right now. I mean, we all are, on a personal level and on a collective level. Things are changing. We are changing, period. Like, there's no getting around it. And as uncomfortable as it may feel right now, going back to what we were just talking about, like because I know with you being in corporate still, I've made many comments to you like, just make it your bitch, like, stay in corporate, but
well, it is part of me.
But we had that conversation.
Let it be. Don't let it bitch slap you. You work with it to your advantage, where it's like you are supporting me, because we're working. The way you used to work corporate is different than the way you get to work corporate now. My husband, he is in a corporate job. The way that he works corporate now is different than how he used to work corporate. And for him to be able to work it to his advantage, which I think some of us are having that difficult shift, is like, the people that are higher up, even they're being challenged, because they're like, but this is the way that we do it. We've never done it this way before.
Let me tell you.
Because we're shifting, and so the higher ups are being forced with change, but it takes the lower downs, people like you that are like, look, I know my human design, I know my purpose, I know how I can support you in this corporate world right now, and let me bring that divine blueprint into the corporate world so that I can help be the change and the shift.
I'm glad that you said that, because I'll leave that here, because and I think I shared with you, I actually did a human design reading for one of our executive leaders in our company.
Amazing.
Note to self, right? So you're starting to hear people trying to really understand themselves, understand their purpose. And the one thing that I think that is so important, I think it's a mindset shift, where for a while it's like, you have to hustle, you have to work out, you have to keep doing, right? That hustle culture that Barbara was speaking about. Sometimes our purpose is not a job.
Right.
Sometimes our purpose is a feeling that we can enable in others. Sometimes our purpose in life is familial. Sometimes our purpose in life is to awaken the people through who we work with, right? And I'll leave this sort of my last thing is, it starts with you asking yourself why you're here, right? Going back to what Barbara said, why you are here. It's not, and don't judge that. Don't look at why am I here from the lens of everything outside of you.
Right.
Why is this body here? Why is this temple? Why is this incarnation of myself here? What am I here to serve and do? And it is in that question, when you bring it inside that body through breath work, through whatever practices that you do that are within your body, whether that's yoga, kundalini, and somatics, whatever it is that you feel really called to do, and you start digging into that and you start working on your self-development, that's when the true awakening comes in.
Yep.
And I would just add, like, the openness and the receptivity to understanding that you are evolving and gaining a better understanding of who you are. Because when I look at who I was in 2013 when I left those corporate doors, and when I started my own business in 2015, what are we talking, less than 10 years? It's my whole being has changed.
Right.
But I was continuously open to learning more about who I truly was. And even though it's within the coaching framework, there's a specialty that I know that I'm here to share with people.
Yeah.
So, but I just kept exploring, and I kind of continued to lean into what felt most aligned for me.
Yeah.
And so that's part of our growth and our evolution too.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, I just want to touch on, because I know you talked about a generator and a manifester, and girlfriend here is a manifesting generator. And once I understood that about me, that I get download, and I'm the majority, right? Manifesting generators are the majority of people, right?
Well, they're about the third. Generators and manifesting generators are about 33 to 34% of the population.
Okay.
Generators are very single focused. They come here with, a direct mission, however they carry that. Manifesting generators are like the multifaceted, right? And they still have to carry their imprint as a generator, but they have the ability to manifest to certain different degrees depending upon their own charts.
Yeah. So once I understood, like, the amount of downloads that can come to me in a day, in a moment, and that I don't have to take action on every single one of them, because when you have these ideas that are just like coming at you, and you don't take action on them, you feel like a loser. You know, you feel like I'm not doing
That's
enough.
the whole program.
Right?
programming.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so that's how I felt most of my life, you know, and I'm still deconstructing that. It's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm a loser. I feel like I always constantly need to be working and doing because I have all these ideas, and I'm not supposed to take action on all of my ideas because who can do that?
Well, you're also emotional.
And I'm emotional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what.
So that was just so much pressure that I was putting on myself, and it's like literally when I understood my human design, it took so much pressure off because I was feeling a lot of pressure, and with that pressure not being on me, like I need you to understand, like I'm not just saying that the pressure literally was off of me. Like I didn't have this constant desire of like, I gotta. You know, I was like, oh wait, it was a permission slip, like you said earlier. It was
only a permission slip. It is a prosperity slip, right?
Ooh,
because
all
right, it is a prosperity slip because when you are an emotional being and you are reacting to every emotion that you feel, you're not riding your waves. You're an emotional being as well, right? You're not riding it, right? You cause this frustration. And when you're frustrated, you can't attract what is supposed to be magnetized for you. You're almost demagnetizing
so
yourself.
Like your not self, right, is anger. Mine is frustration. And but to feel that constant frustration within yourself, and I know so many of you listening can relate to that, and so I didn't mean to totally go back, but I just like it makes me emotional now, like understanding like the relief that I feel now about myself, understanding that I do not have to take action on every thought that I have, on every desire that is given to me, you know, that is like I get to choose, and I get to choose. And I give myself permission to choose, and it takes so much pressure because we have a lot of pressure put on us as women, you know,
human beings in general.
Yeah. So
human beings in general.
To understand, going back to the importance of understanding your human design, understanding your astrology, and using it to work for you instead of against you, because you know, looking back, I can think of you know, all the pressure that was me working against myself. And so now that I give myself permission to work with these energies, it is such a more beautiful, peaceful life. Even when I'm going through the shit, I understand that it's all working for me, and I'm working with it. And so all of it is an invitation. And so for everyone, if you've made it this long, God bless you, and thank you. If you're still here,
because we can go on for hours.
I noticed I cannot keep them less than an hour. I've been trying, but it just isn't possible. So
we're almost at 111.
I know. So it really just is an invitation for right here, right now, at this time in our lives, at this potent time in our lives of 2024, leading into 2025, we are in a very profound time of our lives. So let's be gentle with ourselves. Let's understand ourselves. Let's understand our human design. Let's understand what is happening astrologically. Let's go within and do the deeper healing so that we are deeply connected to ourselves, so that we have more capacity to be more self-aware of our conscious, subconscious, and really allowing more of that unconscious wisdom that exists within our being to move forward when we have that space. What is it, 11, 11?
11, 11, 11, 11.
All right, well then we out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you everybody. Thank you ladies for joining us. I love
exciting.
you all so much, and love Lunas.